Pleasant morning to all. I'm Divya, Assistant Professor, Department of Information Technology, and Madurai Sivasi Nada's Pioneers Meenakshi Women's College. And today I'd like to share about components of operating system, which comes under operating system, Unit 1 and Module 1. Basically, operating system, before going to the components of operating system, let us just discuss about what is operating system. Operating system is a software. It is a system software that manipulates the system hardware, or that maintains the system hardware, monitors the system hardware, which all activities are done by the operating system. Without an operating system, computer cannot work their processing and their calculations. Without an operating system, computer is just a dumb machine. Okay, now we will discuss in detail about components of operating system. Components of operating system. Actually, an operating system is a large and complex system that can only be created by partitioning into small parts. The major role of an operating system is the process will be partitioned into a single part. These pieces will be well-defined part of the system, carefully defining inputs, outputs and function. These are all different processing of an operating system. And although Windows, Mac, Unix, Linux and other operating systems and some more operating systems are also available, like Android and Unix, Linux, etc. DOS. Once we have DOS as an operating system, now we were working with Windows as a guide prompt and Android as a guide prompt for our mobile phones. Most operating systems share similar operating system components such as file, memory, processors, input-output device management. These components are shared by the operating system for the overall performance of the computer. An operating system components helps you get the correct computing by detecting CPU and memory hardware errors, which will be the main theme for detecting CPU's utilization time. If the CPU is free, then the operating system instruct or manipulate the other processors, any other processors which will be in waiting queue will be processed, and memory hardware errors, which is also handled by the operating system, which will be easily rectified by the operating system. The components of an operating system play a key role to make a variety of computer system parts works together. So it is a role to combine all these activities in a single manner and process in a parallel working or multitasking manner. So the components of operating systems are as follows. The major components of operating system includes process management, file management and network management, main memory management, secondary storage management, input output device management, security management, command interpreter system. These are all the basic components of operating system. Actually, process management is mainly used for managing the overall system processes, overall computer processes, and file management is managing the file storage, file directory storage without any intervention, which will be also handled by the operating system. And network management includes the connection between the computers, and the sharing of data between the computer is also handled by the operating system. And main memory management. Main memory management is the process of, actually main memory is the one where the processes will be in executed stage. What are all the process which has to be executed, it must be in main memory, so which will be also handled by the operating system. Secondary storage management means here the data which will not be fit into the main memory, which may be huge when compared with main memory, which will be stored in the secondary storage management. Whenever it needs processing, it has to be loaded into the main memory into a partition based on pages or frames. Based on that concept, the data will be loaded into the main memory for processing. That is also handled by the operating system. Input output device management. Overall input activities and output activities, which means the input and output devices are handled monitored by the operating system. And security management is also provided by the operating system. And command interpreter system, which is an intermediate for executing the command, which is also handled by the monitored by the operating system. So first, process management. The process management component is a procedure for managing many processes running simultaneously on the operating system, which means multiple processes executed in a single time in a parallel processing. Once a process is in execution state, then the remaining 2 or 3 processes will be in waiting state. Once the process completed its execution, then the remaining process will get into the main memory, and it holds the devices, input or output devices, which will be for used for further processing, which is also handled by the operating system. Every running software application program has one or more processes associated with them. Actually, every running program must associated with an application software in a computer system. Without an application software, computer we cannot do anything. So at least one application software has to be associated with a single process, so that process will not be allocated to another process which is also in execution state. If it is in a time based calculations, a time based processing, so once the process completed its execution, then the in a particular time, then the next process has to come to the main memory, and then the processing is continued. This is the main theme. This is the way the time based processing is working, so that there are more than one application software is associated with each processor. There may be we may have a deadlock association with that process. And for example, here we mention an example. When you search an engine like Chrome, there is a process running for that browser program. Actually, what are all the things we will done? There is a software which will behind our imagination, and did that process and provide the result. Here they mentioned that. And process management keeps process running efficiently. It also uses memory allocated to them and shutting them down when needed. Actually, process management is the main theme where the process has to running. It must be in running state. What are all the process which will be waiting in waiting for their time of execution? It has to loaded into the main memory, and it has to efficiently running. This is the main theme of process management. So we have to allocate the resources which will be needed for that process, and after all the execution, we can stop the execution, and we may relieve the system, such as shutting down the system when overall processing is completed. And the execution of a process must be sequential. So at least one instruction should be executed on behalf of the process. So execution is a sequential process. So once the execution is completed, then the next process will be entered into the processing system, and it has to running or it has to terminate its execution. Maybe any interruptions is arrived, so it has to goes into a blocked state, and then it has to be resumed. Then it has to be goes to the running state. Then once again it has to start execution. So it is a sequential process. And process management, it is an example of process management. First one is whenever the process is in a ready state, which is created, it has to be in a ready state, and once it has its memory allocation, it is in running state, and overall, if its overall execution is completed, then it goes to the terminated state. Otherwise, if any interruptions is arrived, it has to comes to the blocked state, and it has to be suspended, or it may be resumed by any instructions by the operating system. Then it has to be goes to the ready suspended state, and then it goes once again goes to the ready state. Then it has to start its execution once again. This is the process of the sequential process of process management. And functions of process management. Here are the following functions of process management in the operating system, such as first one is process creation and deletion. Once the process is created, it must be execute its terminate its overall execution, and it must be deleted. And the second one is suspension and resumption. If any interruption is arrived, it has to be suspended, and it has to be resumed, and once again it has to start its execution. This is also handled by the process management. And synchronization process. If there is synchronization between process execution of a different process, which means there is synchronization. For example, process 1, process 2, process 3, process 4, which all comes and process in a sequential manner. Then we have to use these synchronization processing. It has to be synchronized with other process, so that we can continue the execution for further. And then communication process. There is a communication between processes, so that we can identify the resources are free, so that if any resource is ready to if any process is ready, any process is needed application software, then it will be allocated by the process. This will be done by the communication between processes. And the next one is file management. Actually, file is a set of related information which is defined by the creator, but it is stored in a computer system. It will be used for further in future. It commonly represents programs both source and object forms and data. Data files can be alphabetical, numerical, or alphanumerical. Here there is a structure for a directory structure. There is a directory named Tom, which has four directories. Three directories and one file. Data, thesis, tools or directories, and notes.txt is a text file, and then 1.txt, 2.txt comes under the is also a text file, which comes under data directory, and format, states, and other documents, which comes under tools directory. Okay. Functions of file management. What are all the components which comes under operating system? There is a function provided by that component. Here file management has basic functions such as file and directory creation and deletion. This is the basic thing. We have to create and delete that file. If there is a need, we have to create a file. or we have to create a directory. If there is no need for that file, then we can delete that file or directory in future. And for manipulating files and directory, we have to depend on the file management system. Mapping files onto secondary storage, we can map that file from one storage system to another storage system, and backup files on stable storage media. If we may need any backup file, if any corruptions occur in our operating system, then we have to make a backup copy for further processing, so which will also be handled by the file management system. And the next one is network management. Network management is the process of administrating and managing computer network. There is a connection between computers. We have to operating system have to administrate and manage that processing, which will be handled by the network management system. So it includes performance management and provisioning of networks, fault analysis, and maintaining the quality of service. These are all the basic thing which will be provided by the network management services. So whenever the system is in connected stage, we can share the data, we can access data from other devices without any external activities. So that is the main theme for network management. Distributed system is a collection of computers or processes that never share their memory and clock. Actually, distributed system means it's a collection of computers, but they can share their common data. It is in this type of system, all the processes have their local memory, and the processes communicate with each other using different communication cables such as fiber optics and telephone line. These are all the basic things which comes under network sharing products, and the computers in the networks are connected through a communication network which can configure in many different ways. We can configure the computers which will be connected in a which will be connected through a network in a different manner, and network can fully or partially connected in network management, which helps users design routing and connecting strategies that overcome the connections and security issues. And the next one is functions of network management. So the network management provides the following functions, such as distributed systems. Here the resources which will be shared, so which will be easily accessed. And distributed system also offers the users access to the various resources the network shares. So we can share the devices or resources which will be shared in the network. We can easily access that resources, and it helps to access share the resources that help computations to speed up or offers data availability and reliability. Main memory management. Here main memory is the large array of storage, which means here there is a storage system which will be used in a continuous manner, array manner. Okay. But each byte has an address, and each block will be used for each processes based on the size of that process. The main memory management process is conducted by using a sequence of reads or writes of specific memory addresses. It has to read the instructions, what are all the next instruction we have to perform. So based on that read or write operations, the main memory has to perform that operation, and it should be mapped to absolute address and loaded inside the memory to execute a program. Based on that absolute address, it loads the program into the execution stage. The selection of a memory management method depends on several factors, such as it mainly depends on the hardware designs of the system. Each algorithm requires corresponding hardware support. Main memory offers fast storage that can be accessed directly by the CPU. It is costly and has a lower storage capacity, but without main memory we can't execute a process. Here there is a pictorial representation. What are all the process we have to execute? We must first space will be allocated for operating system in the main memory. The next spaces is allocated for user processes. So what are all the process has to be executed? It must be swapped into the main memory and then started its execution. Once its execution is completed, it has to swap out from that main memory. This is the thing which will be tell in this picture. And functions of memory management, it helps you to track of primary memory. Actually, what are all the operations which will be performed by the primary memory, which will be tracked by the memory management system, and it determines what part of it are in use by whom, what part is not in use. And in a multi-programming system, the OS decides which process will get memory and how much. It allocates the memory when a process requests. It also deallocates the memory when a process no longer requires or has to be terminated, so that process will be swapped out from the memory. And the next concept is about secondary storage management. The most important task of a computer system is execute programs. These programs helps you to access data from the main memory during execution. This memory of the computer is very small to store all data and programs permanently. The computer system offers secondary storage to back up the main memory data. Actually, main memory secondary storage is a backup memory storage for storing the data in future. So this is the main theme for secondary storage management. But if we have to execute a huge amount of data in a single processing, then we have to use a secondary storage for storing the data, and it will be split up into pages or frames. Then that will be loaded into the main memory, and after the completion of that page, then the next page is also has to be loaded, and it started its execution. This is the main thing which will be managed in the secondary storage management. So here primary storage stores both data and programs. Secondary storage stores the data in a hard drive. That's it. Secondary storage works as a storage devices. We can't process any we can't process any execute any processes in using secondary storage. It is a storage device like USB device, like memory card. It is just a storage device. We have to store the data. And programs like assemblers and compilers are stored on the disk until it is loaded into the memory, and then the disk is used as a source and destination for processing. Here these are also stored in the secondary storage. So functions of secondary storage management. First one is storage allocation. We can allocate all the processes in the system without any worry of size of the data. And free space management. We can free up the space in the main memory by using the secondary storage. And this disk scheduling, which is mainly handled by the secondary storage, so that we can access the data sequentially. And input and output devices management. One of the important use of an operating system that helps to hide the variations of specific hardware devices from the user. First, the CPU has to communicate with the input-output devices. First, the data will be fed into the main memory from an input device. Then that data is loaded into the CPU, and based on that commands, input-output commands, it provides the input-output operations in the input-output devices. So functions of input-output management includes, it offers a buffer caching system, and it provides general device driver code. It provides drivers for particular hardware devices. It helps to know the individuality of a specific device. Security management. The various processes in an operating system need to be secured from other activities. The security is provided by the overall operating system based on the security management processing. Here, security refers to the process of controlling the access of programs, processes, or users to the resources defined by the computer controls to together with the some means of enforcement. Here there is no enforcement, they just controls all the processes with one another to uh, to make any to not make any interventions between the data's communications or processing communication, so that we can execute the process without any interventions. Here the security management has two layers. First one is user processes. It has to loaded into the port server, and then mandatory security server loaded into the other security servers. Overall security process is done, then it will be loaded into the port server, and then it has to be executed. So security management, here there is an example. Memory addressing hardware helps to confirm that a process can be executed with its own address space. The time ensures the control of the CPU, and security is also by detecting latent errors to handle latent error means the CPU unutilized time, and yearly detection of interface errors. It protects resources by unauthorized accesses. And the last one is command interpreter system. One of the most important components of an operating system is command interpreter. It is an interface between the user and the rest of the system. So what are all the input which will be provided by the user? It will be passed to the parser, then it will be passed into a parser tree, and then it has to converted into instruction by a semantic interpreter, command generator, then it will be generate the command string, then that command will be processed by the command interpreter. So the command interpreter has control for many statements, such as a program that reads and interprets control statements is automatically executed when a new job is start in a batch system or user logs into a time shared systems. It has the control code interpreter, the command line interpreter, the cell, and so on. The function is quite simple. Get the next command statement and execute it. And once the processing is completed, it has to handle input, output, secondary storage, main memory, file system, and security and networking, which are also handled by the command interpreter systems. Okay, now we are just discussing about the basic components of operating systems, like process management, file management, security management, memory management, network management, command interpreter systems, and so on. These are all the basic components of operating system. These are all the basic things which will be done by the operating system without any monitors or human interventions. So these are all the basic things which will be provided by the operating system to the computer. As a user, we have to know these basic things which will be provided by the operating systems for our further processing. Okay, thank you for listening. Now the session is completed. Thank you for